Thanks, President Courtney. We have quite a few guests today. And good afternoon, everyone. It is with great pleasure that I welcome our guests and visiting Rotarians for today's meeting. As I announce your name, please stand up and so everyone can recognize you. First, we have Andy Dufell, a guest of Brad Nallen. Darwin Toller, a guest of Robert Grace. Eric McCallum, a guest of Richard Knight. We have Oba Babatund, a guest of Jim Austin. Charlie Simpson, a guest of Jim Austin. John Avila, a guest of Bob Mitchell. John Bowers, a guest of Aurora Newberry. We have Kayla Mosley, who's here with Rotaract, and also Margaret Bowes with Rotaract. There's Matt Jacobs, a guest of Jason Ray. Petra Irakanya, a guest of Wanda Bonder. Hopefully I didn't mess her name up too bad. Sarah Castillo, a guest of Robert Stearns. Sarah Turhan, a guest of Wanda Bonder. Stephanie Molina with Rotaract. Talon Kessler, a guest of Steve Kessler. And Kaylee Mays, also a guest of Steve Kessler. Andy Mathis, a guest of Mark Moore. Hester Mathis, a guest of Mark Moore. And we have Reed Robertson, a guest of John Wright. And that's all the guests for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Now, we have a long-distance Rotarian with us, and as some of you may remember, we do have a tradition at the Rotary Club of Fort Worth to gift our visiting long-distance Rotarian with a golden putter. Now, this golden putter is guaranteed to add to your score. So, Andy Mathis, visiting with us from Memphis, Tennessee, we have a question for you. Do you play golf? Okay, right answer. All right, now here is what everybody has been waiting for. We have our newscast given by our past president, Fernando Costa, assistant city manager from the city of Fort Worth. Can I hear the popcorn claps?
Thank you. I feel about as welcome as a TCU coach with a guitar at the SEC expansion talks. But this isn't about my feelings, it's about the news of the week. So here we go. In national news, a trade group representing several U.S. airlines has asked the Justice Department for greater authority to deal with unruly passengers. The airlines are calling for stricter punishment, up to and including middle seats. Girl Scouts of the USA announced the other day that they have 15 million boxes of unsold cookies due to COVID restrictions. That's right. But really, they should have known that COVID restrictions is a terrible name for a cookie. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention announced this week that COVID cases are rising across the country, sparking renewed efforts to get Americans vaccinated. And a strip club in Las Vegas is doing its part by providing COVID vaccinations. They'll have Moderna and AstraZeneca, but as it turns out, their real names are Cynthia and Beth. In business news, the Wall Street Journal reports that Google has just opened its first ever physical store in New York City. Retail analysts expect the store to be successful, but customers say that it's a little weird asking a salesperson a question and getting 1.3 million answers. And according to the cloud computing company pCloud, dating apps, Tinder, Bumble, and Grindr constitute 15% of the most battery-draining apps for smartphones. Wow, these dating apps are almost as draining as are the people you'll meet on them. In science, a paper published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences says that relocating wolves to areas with frequent car accidents caused by deer can reduce the rate of collisions by 24%, which almost makes up for the 3,000% increase in wolf attacks. Speaking of wildlife, a man dropping off a package at a Florida post office at 3:30 in the morning recently discovered a 7-foot alligator walking around the lobby. It's still not as scary, though, as a man dropping off a package at the post office at 3:30 in the morning. In response to a recent rise in gun violence, President Joe Biden has announced an ambitious plan to prevent shootings. We don't know the details yet, but the plan reportedly involves an offer of free knives. President Biden recently visited Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. When his staff initially briefed him about the trip, he said, "Wait, I already take all 3 of those meds." In sports, the Olympic Games officially began with opening ceremonies in Tokyo earlier today. And one of the new events this year is skateboarding. The American skateboarders all affirm that they don't use pot, but their coaches are still giving them regular reminders about why they're there. I don't really know how smart these skateboarders are, but they're so confident about winning a gold medal that they're already deciding to have it bronzed. In view of the coronavirus, the U.S. women's gymnastics team has moved from the Olympic Village into a hotel. And superstar Simone Biles has achieved yet another first by figuring out how to print something in the business center in less than 10 minutes. In offbeat news, authorities in Kingston, New Hampshire, have charged a man for allegedly detonating 80 pounds of explosives at a gender reveal party. Even worse, though, he'll soon be charged with raising a child. Officials in Kettering, England, have arrested 2 young men who were allegedly running a massive marijuana distribution center out of an abandoned bingo hall. Police became suspicious when someone under 70 went into a bingo hall. And last Wednesday was World Redhead Day. It was supposed to be a big celebration, but then the sun came out and they had to cancel it. We should have plenty of sunshine this weekend, though, with temperatures possibly reaching 100 on Sunday. Regardless of the forecast, may the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sunshine warm upon your face and rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may the good Lord hold you in the palm of his hand. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Past President Fernando. A few weeks ago, Rotarian Captain Kirk Driver and I attended the Fort Worth Firefighter Academy graduation. It's been a tradition of our club to honor the top graduate of each graduating class. And so the honor grad of class of '88 is here with us today. And we are honored to have him, Firefighter Ty Burtnett. Please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Thank you very much. And next we have an update on our welcoming project with our international committee. We have Richard Knight, COO of Nightway Services, here to give us an update on our project.
Thank you, President Courtney. So, Club, we are expecting, we're having a boy, another boy, another boy, and a girl, and a mom and dad. Our bundles of opportunity are almost here, arriving at DFW next Thursday, the 29th. Thank you to all of our fellow Rotarians that have generously donated to help to improve the lives of those much less fortunate than ourselves. This truly exemplifies the four-way test in action. We're down to the wire, and a few time and talent action items remain, so pay attention. Moving volunteers are needed for Monday, the 26th, apartment stagers and decorators for the 27th and 28th. This may include some last-minute grocery shopping. Greeters to meet the family at the apartment on Thursday, the 29th, when they arrive. 3 to 4 people max, approximately 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Try to be flexible with our timing. And any outstanding donations that need to be collected or dropped off, please get with Wanda Bonder as soon as possible. Wanda, can you wave to the crowd back there? Please stop by our sign-up table in the back to register your acts of service. The International Committee, the Community Outreach Committee, and myself, thank you kindly for your participation.
Thank you, Richard. And now we welcome to the stage our our Secretary of the Board, Rebecca Montgomery, Principal Montgomery GR, here to do our first and second readings of new members.
Thank you, President Courtney. Good afternoon, everyone. We have one first reading today. Bliss Coulter, classification, associations, job training, women. She's a CEO of the Ladder Alliance. Proposer is Michelle Krim. If no written objection is received in the Rotary office by the next meeting, Friday, July 30th, this proposal will be given second reading and voted on by the club. We also have 3 second readings today. The following proposed new members were submitted during the July 16th program. If no objections are received through the voting process, then the proposed members will be accepted into our club. Our first second reading, Anthony Placencio, classification, business services, accounting, and auditing. He is a Fort Worth audit leader of RSM US LLP. Proposer, Pamela Cannell. I move his election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
Sounds like we have a first and a second. So all in favor, please vote now. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and he is hereby elected. Welcome.
Our next second reading is Akua Ayanful, classification, finance, and investments. She is the CEO and founder of EA Wealth Management LLC. Proposer, John Wright. I move her election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
All right, I heard a first and a second. All in favor, please vote now. Any opposed? The ayes have it. She is hereby elected. Welcome.
And for today, our third and final second reading, Katrina Carpenter, classification, catering, and food services. She is the founder and owner of Carpenter's Cafe and Catering. Proposer, Christy Eckler. I move her election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. She is hereby elected to the club. Welcome. And now we welcome to the stage our esteemed member, Bob Mitchell, who holds the title of introducing and proposing the most new members to our club. So today, Bob has two new members to introduce. So let's have Jeff Postel come up first, and then we'll have Patrick come up second.
Thank you, President Courtney. You'll please note when not only Jeff, but our second newest member comes up, the sartorial splendor factor is going to be lifted dramatically in the club with these two. So Jeffrey Postel can largely be defined by integrity, grit, hard work, and education in coming through as an entrepreneurial leader and starting a company 5 years ago that is ragingly successful, a contracting company. Scores of full-time employees who have benefits and are encouraged to have ongoing education. So take it away, Jeffrey.
Thank you. I didn't know I was talking today.
Oh, you are.
So I'm just, number one, I'm super proud to be nominated to be a part, and I'm excited about it. I think as I sit here and just look at everybody in the room, it's just awesome to be a part of this group, and it's awesome to be a part of the community, be a part of Fort Worth. Courtney and I grew up together in Lancaster, Texas, and it's just amazing. I was walking down Houston. I think I was walking down Houston Street, and I seen a good-looking woman, and I kind of looked like, "Hey, who's that?" And that's Courtney. And so, but Courtney, thank you for everything you've done for me. And again, I'm excited. Bob, thank you for keeping me connected here in Fort Worth. Y'all, I'm super proud to just be in the Fort Worth community and be a part of it. And I'm excited to be a part of this group. Thank you.
And that's all yours. Thank you, brother. Okay. So if there is an ideal motivation for becoming an active Rotary member, probably it is that as a youth, Rotary changed your life, impacted what you are and who you are now in your much later life. And Patrick is a personification of all that. He comes to us from Utah via the world and San Antonio, and he is here to run the combining, we've got to come up with a name for this, the combining Botanic Research Institute of Texas and Botanic Gardens, and he'll be leading it into being one of the premier assets, cultural assets of the territory.
Thank you, Bob. As Bob alluded, Rotary has sort of been a current throughout my life. I was first introduced to Rotarians when I was in college. And as a result, I worked alongside some Peace Corps volunteers. That led me to join the Peace Corps. That led me ultimately to a career decision that led me to Fort Worth. So this is really sort of the realization of a lifelong goal and dream to be a part of a Rotary Club and to give back to an organization that has been so instrumental in my life. I hope that I bring a lot to the table and I can be an asset to this club. I think that's the case if you'll just look past my association with Bob Mitchell. No, Bob was very kind. In my first week in town, I ran into Bob, and within about a half an hour, I was at a Rotary lunch, and Bob was introducing me to people as horticulturist to the stars. I'm neither a horticulturist nor have I met any stars, but nonetheless, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you, Bob.
Well, welcome to our new members, and I will say that Bob describes me as banker to the stars, but I'm sure that he says that to all of the bankers around town. And Jeff and I were in junior high band together, and thank God there was no Facebook. It had not been invented yet. So now I have the pleasure to introduce our chairman of the day, past president Don Pearson, Tarrant County Judge, County Court at Law #1, and the best dressed man in the room today.
I can wait. I got a minute. I've got a real short introduction here. And thank you, Madam President. And without knowing how the day would transpire, I start off with, in the multiverse, imagine a world of madness, and I'm going to segue to where Bob Mitchell is the voice of reason in the room. Who would expect that? But actually, my introduction says, in the multiverse, imagine a world of madness where your livelihood, your very existence, is dependent on teenage knuckleheads. How many of us in this room would take the time to think, to take a step back from all the chaos and break into song? Well, our speaker today is one such troubadour, Coach Gary Patterson of the TCU Horned Frogs. Come on up here, Coach.
Well, I don't know you that well, Bob Mitchell. It's only 20-some years, right? Somewhere in that. Yeah, and that's, he got that word knucklehead. My wife said that all men are knuckleheads. Just some are good knuckleheads and some are bad knuckleheads. And I have some that are right there on the border when they're 18 to 22 years old. So every year, 125 of them, when they say they want to give you some kind of discipline because you screwed up, he was talking about earlier, what they need to do is just put you in charge of those guys. So, but I have a good group, so it's as a general, then they roll, but it's anyway, you know, I was going to talk, but all the questions I had earlier before we got here. I mean, if we change conferences and whatever changed about it, only be our 6th one since I've been here in 24 years. So that's all we've done is climbed. I would tell you, whether it's COVID, and it's really nice to get out and get the chance to see everybody. You know, we didn't really have much choice. If you want to just kind of just a little bit of a eye shot of what it was like to go forward, I think you have to give City of Fort Worth, our chancellor, board of trustees, everybody, an opportunity for us that we played the game last year. If you looked at it from a financial standpoint of understanding what it would have been to a university to give up about $50 million because you didn't play a ball game and then put all the rest of it, that's just the TV contract, so it's different. But if you understood what our young people had to go through, you can think about testing every Sunday, Tuesday, Friday, before you got it. So you had a game plan, you went through practice all week, and then Friday morning you tested to see that even if you get on the bus or the plane to go play what you needed to do. So we weren't as fortunate to just kind of be able to stay in our house. And so it was, you did what you did, but it was a fantastic effort by a lot of people, to be honest with you. The younger people seem to have handled the pandemic a little bit better when it came to sickness and symptoms, and at least what I deal with. And as always, there's always positive things that come out of it. You know, like our starting quarterback ended up finding out from birth that he had an extra charge in his heart. And, you know, someday it was probably not going to turn out real well. And so they were able to go in and they were able to fix, or at least modify that so he could play college football. And so you found something out that possibly, because every kid that if they did test positive, had to do an echo. So you had to go do a heart type situation, and that's how they found it. And then like anything else that you do, the more we found out about it, the less we had to do, to do with it. And so young people, they kind of fight through and do what you need to do. But it's been fun. Really, we've been really back to normal probably since February, March at our place. And so really good group, football wise. Really proud of the city, really proud of the university, way we fought through. You know, I'm one of those guys, I guess because of my age and everything that we've gone through in 60 years of understanding that, and it's kind of like people say, even with the now mention of possibly a change in the Big 12 conference, to be honest with you, the only thing you can do is keep eyes up, keep counting. You got to eyes up, keep climbing. I mean, it's just, that's the way I've always looked at it. I mean, when we got in the league, where we started, what we've been doing, you can only control what you can control. As I tell people all the time, everybody in the state, as a general, you haven't heard me say much bad about anybody. I think the key is on the day you play them, you got to hate each other for about 3 hours. And then, because we filled our stadium, to be honest with you, with a lot of people we've adopted. You know, we started with some 20,000 in the Metroplex, and we sell it out now and we go about our business, so they come from everywhere. And so my wife's a Longhorn, or she was. She's changed. She knows who pays the bills. And so she actually worked for DeLoss Dodds when he was the AD there, so it's kind of like her second dad. Now, I could tell you this much, she wasn't really happy the way he was treated at the end of his situation, but I think she feels a little bit better now about everything. And if all of you want to know, he's doing pretty well. I don't think his wife is doing overly well down in Horseshoe Bay. But so it's, you know, it's the same thing with, you know, after you've been somewhere in college football almost 40 years, 24 here, it's like hiding that Chris Del Conte was in Aspen yesterday trying to raise $80 million to get out of the conference. So you wanted a tidbit that nobody else that showed up today that would know. There's your tidbit for all you Longhorn fans. So it's outside of that, I just guessed, if you didn't listen yesterday, what you need to do, and I was going to play it for you, but I'm not going to because I've always stayed below the water, the Colin Cowart. If you get an opportunity, go back up on YouTube and listen to his conversation about Texas and TCU, and really just football itself in the state of Texas, and see what he had to say. So that pretty much sums up where we've been and how we do things. So TCU is going to move forward. Hopefully our administration, this city, and everybody else knows that whatever is that they put a challenge in front of us, we'll go do what we need to do. And so we're still going to turn out guys who are going to graduate. We're still going to turn out guys who are going to go to the NFL. You know, when I tell people all the time what 24 years means to be at TCU, they need to understand my first year seniors are now 45. So over 700, almost 800 guys have come through the program. A lot have graduated. I think we've had 15 straight years. We've had a defensive guy drafted. You know, I'm supposed to be a defensive head coach, but we had 12 offensive linemen playing the NFL this year. And so when you look at all those guys, that's the positive, really the cool thing that I like most about everything is the guys that come back. We had one of our guys, Brandon Hassel, that got married the other day, and I think there was 18 guys at his wedding. They all took a picture, and to watch how they've grown up, what they become, how they do it is truly amazing. I think his senior year was 2004. And so last night, I think at our foundation dinner, at the Drover, you know, Tank Carter, which is now in the cement business, coming back after playing in the NFL, you know, but I keep telling him, I said, you know, Tank, because he's got little ones, and he kind of coaches his sons like he played. I said, and he's been kicked out of a couple ball games, I think, as a coach. And I said, Tank, here's what you need to really understand here. your sons are going to grow older and nobody's going to remember this game, this 7-year-old's game. Okay, you're getting in an argument with the other coach. I said, but you are going to do business in this town, which I would think the Rotary Club is all about. You are going to do business in this town that make a difference that you're going to do. So my advice is to just tell them good game and complain somewhere else. It's just what it is. So, but all I can do, like we say, is you can only lead them to water, right? And so, you know, you guys, a lot of you know the Patterson Foundation. We teamed this last year. We've been doing it almost 18 years, but this last year during the COVID, we actually teamed up with Leon Bridges. And I don't know if you know, he's a Fort Worth native. He just dropped another album last night. He was on Jimmy Fallon. We had our foundation dinner last night at the Drover, as I said before. It's really cool because I think it's, along with Chris Harrison, I think it's going to be a great combination of people. Right now, like all 31-year-olds, or now I guess he just turned 32, he's moving pretty fast, but that's good for him. And so as I told his people, I said, it's my job at my age to make sure I protect his reputation, how he does things, and we'll keep doing what we need to do. I think you'll see we're going to be doing some really big stuff in the city next year. You know, this last year between Tarrant County Food Bank and North Texas Food Bank, I think we came close to feeding almost 100,000 people. Thanksgiving, it was a little over 1 million pounds of food. So, and there's those that's sitting in the audience from Tarrant County Food Bank that really did an unbelievable job. And you know, I think that relationship's going to keep pushing forward. But 1 million pounds of food, a guy by the name of Mitchell Ward that has a logistics company that's really been big in helping all of us do that. Again, when I was talking, we were at this deal last night, and one of the things that came up when pandemic, you know, and I was a guy that played a lot of music when I was younger, wrote music, and kind of gave me a chance. But one of the things I found that music and athletics really kind of go hand in hand. I have a lot of guitars now in my recruiting office, for lack of a better way to say it, at my house, because I've traded helmets for guitars, you know, with Blake Shelton or Brad Paisley or Toby Keith or whoever you want to talk about, because that's kind of, they kind of, each side kind of knows how tough it is in that business to make it. And so Bot and Judge here talked about it earlier about going back to, so we wrote a song about Take a Step Back. They had to do it through the pandemic, went to Nashville, and then we came back with a song called Game On that we did for ESPN. And a guy by the name of Jim Beavers, which I just came out with 2 more songs that we haven't put on Spotify that really were fun that you wrote when I was in my 20s. So Jim Beaver, a lot of the young people in this room would know it. He co-wrote Red Solo Cup. So yeah, in the state of Texas, I know there's a bunch of people shaking their heads. Waiting on a Plane by Gary Allen. And so what you do is you go to people, but it's funny how it all works. He graduated from Baylor, but his roommate was actually a Baylor grad, but their sons and daughters all go to TCU now. And so they brought him to my office, which a lot of people do to help recruit him. And so I didn't know who he was. And so when he said, when you come into town, we'll go do that. And so it's been really fun getting to know that part, and really going forward, what I found out along with Leon is how much musical talent, everybody talks about Austin, but to be honest with you, in the Metroplex, how much musical talent there are here in Fort Worth and in Dallas. So it's been a lot of fun for me because they're helping us with our foundation. And to be honest with you, they're going to help us with Fort Worth. And so probably you didn't think that would be part of a talk when a football coach gets up here and talks about things, but it's after 24 years, there's some things I've run out of. Somebody said, well, my speech is always different. Well, after 24 years, it's getting closer to being, how do I not repeat what I say, right? But really excited. We only had 8 seniors last year. Very young football team. A couple young juniors went out in the draft, and a linebacker and 2 tight ends. So basically everybody returns from a team that is kind of quiet. Won 5 out of our last 6. Won't beat everybody in the state, plus Oklahoma State at the end of the year. Should have played in the bowl game. You know, really kind of ran out. Everybody said it was COVID. Really, it was, really came down to a situation where injuries, because 2 games before that at Kansas, we actually traveled to Kansas with 47 players out of 70 that you usually travel with. One got it up to 56 players when we played Oklahoma State at the end of the season. And then really kind of at the end, we kind of just ran out. A couple guys that wanted to go in the draft along with some COVID situations. But really the kids did a great job all season, and the coaching staff. So it was a lot of fun. It's really hard to tell what the season's going to be like because we have a lot better football team because we've all grown up, but everybody else has got everybody coming back because of the super seniors and the guys that were able to have a automatic red shirt if they wanted to. So we'll see how it goes. But anytime we've had a returning quarterback, which it's been really 3 years, 2018, we played our 4th team quarterback the last 5 ball games. And then 19 was a new one. And then 20, we went through everything. And people don't really understand with Max. He was a freshman the year before. And then he goes through a situation where he doesn't get to go through spring because of COVID. He didn't get a throw with his group in summer because of COVID. And then he finds out about his heart thing and they keep him out to where he comes back a week before the Iowa State game. And so you got an unbelievable leader, unbelievable guy as far as how he does things. Really has made a big difference, but it's been a great group of kids, really, and they're not kids really anymore. They're going forward, but to me they are. You know, as I always tell them, they always say, well, I'm a man, I'm 22. I say, yeah, wait till you're 27. Then come back and talk to me about how much you've changed. And then come back and talk to me when you're 32. Then come back and talk to me when you're 40. And we'll just keep it up, and then we'll go from there. And so it's fun to listen to their stories. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop. I know there's questions, so I'll let you ask them, and we'll kind of go from there. How about that? And there's no hard questions. I don't care. Trust me.
So now that it's legal to pay college athletes, let's fast forward 20 years. What do you think the culture and the landscape of college athletics is like?
Well, either the Supreme Court's going to do something about it, or you're just going to have pay to play. I'm not sure you'll have college athletics. I think you're either going to have pay to play, or the Supreme Court's going to come in, and because right now it's the Wild Wild West. But I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of positives, and I use this example. I had 2 safeties that were young, juniors that went out in the draft. One went in the 2nd round. The other one thought he was going to, but he ended up being a free agent. And basically his mom moved here, worked 3 jobs during COVID. And I think if he would have been a guy that would have been able to get some sponsorships and make a little bit, I call it paper cut. You know, the really, really good players, they're going to take care of themselves, that 1%. It's really the job of ours as far as the university and the community. It's what I call the paper cut. The guys are going to get maybe $300 doing sponsorship, and over a year's time, maybe make $5,000 to $10,000. Let's just use that for an example. And probably if that would have happened for him, I don't think he would have went out in the draft. But I think it was so important for him to make sure he helped his mom that he went ahead and did it. And he got a lot bigger walk as far as signing bonus than what most guys that are going free agent get $15,000 to $20,000, which he got $100,000 plus 85 was guaranteed. And so they knew he was a good player, but he was 5'9". One was 6'2", 205, one was 5'9". So that the measurables, you know, the NFL is so much about the measurables. And so I think what you'll find out is everybody, like anything else, kind of like the pandemic, we all get all frightened about things we don't know and the unknown, and we don't know how to do it. So like today at 2:00, I have the guy Open Doors is coming that'll represent TCU, because what kids have to do, because right now there is, you know, the NFL has a players union. And so there's rules and restrictions about how they can do things. Right now we have no players union. And so what you got to understand is right now it's do whatever you do, you got to but you have to put it into a program, and then our compliance office just looks at it. You can't do it wrong. Whatever you do, it just has to make sure that you have, and you know, the thing that people are going to have to understand is that, and these young people are going to have to understand is there's a thing called taxes. And so, and here I'm going to tell you kind of a small, just a little deal, you know, there might be some IRS people in here, but they would probably tell you this, that if you just look at the tax code, and this has been going for hundreds of years, you know, your tuition and everything, that's part of your scholarship, but it really says in the tax code, you could have been taxed for your room and board. But they haven't ever done that to a college scholarship. But I will promise you, going forward, there's a great chance that that's going to happen when kids start making anything in excess of $30,000. And so, you know, the problem with that is a kid comes from a place that he could get financial aid, which is free, on top of your scholarship. But once you start making money, guess what's going to happen to that free money? Then that's going to go away. You're not going to, so you're probably going to end up about the same amount of money unless you're one of that 1% that ends up making whatever you do. And so we just have to, like we've always had to do as coaches, as educators, teachers, all of it, we just got to do a great job of educating these people, because as you know, anytime you put money with anything, there's good things that happen in it and there's bad. And there's people, so example, let's just say one of my guys signs a deal that says he'll sign 1,000 of his cards right now for $20. But at the end of the season, he turns out really good. And he goes in the first round and those cards are worth $500 a card. So do you think some of these guys got good legal representation on their contract? Because we can't do anything, right now they're saying colleges we can't have anything to do with any of that. And we're the ones they always come to talk to about, is it a good deal, bad deal, what's going on in my life, everything. And so this kid's going to be stuck if he turns out to be what it is, where he'll get $20,000, but he could have made, right? And so we've just got to do a great job of educating them, like all of us have to, from interest rates to, because they think, let's just say, for example, a guy gets $1 million bonus. Well, if you've never been in the tax world, you think you get $1 million. Well, first off, you're going to take almost 40%, right? And then depending on the state you're in, you're going to take out state tax. State, Texas, you're not. Social Security, pay your agent. So let's just be optimistic that you're going to get 400 out of that whole thing. And so they just entered. So my general rule is be very conservative when you first get it. And if you ever get your second contract, then spend whatever you want. But that first one, you save as many pennies of it as you possibly can to do what you need to do. Saw your hand back there.
So what are your thoughts about OU and Texas leaving the Big 12? Do you think the Big 12 will survive without the conference?
Well, yeah, I don't know what that'll all look like. I would say this to you, and this is just me. If my name was on in the state, and I was the king of the state, I'm not sure that I would go to somewhere into a conference where you won't be the king of the state. That's my only, because here's the thing, the playoffs is going to go to 12 teams. So for me, Gary Patterson, let's see, we're going to take Oklahoma and Texas out of the league. So what is my chances gotten better about going to the 12-team playoff? Absolutely. I mean, I've been in a league where we went to Conference USA. Everybody said they won, and we won the conference. And then we stepped up and we went to the WAC, and then we went to the Mountain West. Then we went to the Big East, and now we're in the Big 12. And you just find a different answer. But I don't think there's any reason for anybody to panic, to be honest with you. We've been here before. Maybe some of you've never been here before, but I've been here before. Let me just say that to you. And so, you know, it's funny, you know, you go along, you have enough of success, and people, they quit asking your opinion. And then when the brick falls, then everybody wants my opinion. And my opinion's the same. Go win ball games. If you want to be worth something, go win ball games. Like anything else, business, football, anything else. Go be successful. You're going to go about what you do. TV contracts would change. obviously. But, I mean, no different than any other business that's going to happen. It'll be interesting which way you would go conference-wise, where we'd have it if that happens. But like I said, at the end of the day, you know, I think it's one of the things that happens, like, let's just take West Virginia. And it happened to us when we played in the Mountain West. It was really hard, even though we had success, to fly over mountains and go where I could only take 200 people to stadiums that had 60,000. And so when you don't play at least half your games in your territory, I think it makes a difference. And so, you know, we'll see how it all goes. But for me, I would never leave anywhere where I was the king. I mean, to be honest with you. And so I think we'll see how it all works with it, but I think you should be very careful, because I don't think, you know, it's like I say, a car does not define a man. You can buy whatever car you have, it's still, or a house, or your bank account, or whatever you do. And a league does not define a institution. And so for me, we need to keep doing what we're doing. 24 years ago, when I came to TCU, we had only 4,000 applications for 1,500 students. Now we take about 2,000 and we have 22 to 24,000 applications. And why did that happen? Because we won. And the university, not just football, but the whole university just kept striving to win a national championship on every level, academically, you know. And so for us, the one thing I would say is that, you know, it'll all come down to probably if Alabama decides they want to say yes or no. Everybody says, well, it's got to be 4 votes in the league, but to be honest with you, it'll come down to whether, and so do you want to go into a conference where you want somebody always telling you yes or no? That's what I would ask. So, I mean, Chris is a good friend. A lot of Texas Longhorn friends and Oklahoma, both Joe and Chris are real good friends of mine. We've been in this profession for a long time, and you know, it's like a lot of things, you kind of have to look at it. But for me, if they're going to go to a playoff of 12 teams, because you're probably only going to take 2 teams out of the SEC for the 12 teams. And so, because every conference is going to end up having a team. So which place do you think? Because the ultimate thing is to get in the playoffs and win a national championship. If that's the case, if that's truly the case, it's not about money. Because as we all know, if you make decisions only about money and it's not the right decision, it usually doesn't. That's what people have asked me about TCU. Why haven't you left? You've had all these opportunities to go at places people say are bigger, better. Well, you know, we've just decided to water our own grass in Fort Worth and TCU and go about our business. And the thing that you got to remember is you have to be the right fit. I say this all the time. If you're a CEO and I'm a CEO of a beer drinkers, and the wine drinkers want to offer me more money to go be the CEO over here, but I really don't fit the wine drinkers, okay? I don't really anymore fit the beer drinkers, but the thing that I would say to you is, if you do go for the money and the title, then you better win, because you don't fit them. And so will you actually stay? You better win, because if they don't like you, and so you have to find a place where you fit. And for me, you know, and everybody has a window and everybody runs their course, but you've got to understand, you better find a way that you fit, because it's hard if you don't. And so that's a long answer for a very specific question, but I'm not worried right now about what we do, because we've always had good leadership, and we've always come out where we needed to get to. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think we'll all find out, you know, if we don't know what's going on, obviously, that's what's going on. And so, and you probably know that probably somebody from A&M leaked the story, because they wanted it to come out, so there would be some conflict, right? I mean, I've been in this business a long time, and so, geez. Yes, sir.
Of the other college coaches, who are some of the coaches you taught?
I talked to all of them since I've been, that phone's been there, because I was the president of the AFCA last year. Todd Berry, which runs the AFCA, you can name it, it's probably on that phone right now. Again, so, and of all of you, if there is any Aggies in here, I would say this to you, I don't know if you know this, R.C. Slocum, I've been talking to him, you know, I think he's on his third round of treatment, and I think he's fighting through it. I think he's got a great chance of making it, so. Yeah, so that's what I tell people all the time. I said, here's what 24 years means. Texas is on their 4th head coach, Baylor's on their 5th or 6th, Texas Tech's on their 5th. You can go down the list of all of them. And so I've seen sunshine. You know, that's what I call people that come in new, you know, we're gonna change it all. Okay, and so then I just kind of wait and see how it all works. We're just gonna keep doing what we do. So I appreciate you letting me be here today, and I really appreciate what you do for our community. You guys make a big difference, and we're gonna try to keep helping you do that, and so we keep taking care of more and more people. Thanks, go Frogs.
So it's a tradition of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth to donate a book to the public library in honor of your speech today, and this is a copy of the book plate that will go in that book.
Well, I appreciate it. That's why Don Judge brings me back, just so I can keep being part of the library.
Yeah, you probably have a collection there of those. Thank you. All right, and again, we want to thank our sponsor, K&L Enterprises, and for $500, you too can be a sponsor of a meeting of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. Please contact Mark Maurer if you'd like to sponsor one of our meetings. And following the meeting, our next program will be a fun one, Christmas in July. Our program chair is trying to get me to dress up as Mrs. Santa Claus. I don't know that I want to do that. We'll see. But we'll have Shark Tank Santa next week as our speaker, Mitch Allen, CEO of Hire a Santa. And so we will see everybody next week, and we'll bring our Zoom guests. We still have a few people out there in Zoom land. If you're traveling, you can always pop in on Zoom, but we'll bring them up so maybe they can wave at us and say hi, bye, and fiend. Hi, everybody on Zoom. We miss you. We hope to see you at a future meeting. I see Sylvia there. Hi, Sylvia. Sylvia can hear us. All right, we are adjourned.